Welcome back, my friends, to Can't Stop Snapping. We were able to break down, we did our meta minute looking at Legion, so much hype over there, and we kind of said that Move is not doing so hot. We're now going to review some of the cards that have been lost in the annals, the dark, deep files of Snap. Many of these cards have been there for quite some time, with placeholder stats and abilities. Some of these are completely outdated and horrifically bad. Some of these are insanely broken. So Brad and I are going to do a quick review on if we think the cards are going to have to be changed to actually come into the game, and then what potential effects they could have. If you are a Move fan, stay tuned. There is help on the way. We promise. Coming out with the very first card, we're going Alpha by name, Annihilus. 6/5, on reveal, each of your cards randomly chooses a location to move to. Finally, an alternate to the Heimdall that's going to be able to shuffle any which direction. The moving chaos here, I can actually see this coming into the game with this ability, Brad.
Yeah, I think so too. So on reveal, each of your cards randomly chooses a location to move to. That can cause
the wording
some
is
chaos.
Weird. Randomly chooses a location to move to.
What so I'm envisioning, they can choose to say no location at all?
I'm actually envisioning that they still have to choose to move, like it has to be a one that would cause them to move, but they could choose something that conflicts with somebody else. I don't know if it's that they do it in order, one at a time, or if they all choose and then they start moving, and if it's full, then they would conflict, you know? Because that's a huge downside to Heimdall right now. If you don't have space, they just gum up on each other in the left and right spaces. If this lets you get, cards piecemealing, like just one free space could still have everything leapfrog around, that could go insane.
It could. We've already seen the chaos that can happen with like things like Silk, right? That's already in the game.
Yes.
So being able to just do that on command with all of your cards can be very interesting. It's like a super Heimdall, but one that you also have no control over. So it's hard to kind of quantify how powerful this is. There's going to be, look, man, if Silk's any indication, some games I'm like, Silk, yes! And then other games I'm like, Silk, no! Which feels like I'm saying no a bit more often when it comes to that card. Now, that might be the same with Annihilus here.
Yeah, it's weird. So a lot of the move carries, right? They're built, I think in general, so they have to move twice to hit tempo. Some of them only move once, and then they're looking pretty good. And there's enough of them now that you can kind of just play on curve up until Annihilus. You have a 1, 2, 3, and 4 drop. 4 drop being the 2099. And then for 5, you kind of do whatever you want. And then 6, you drop Annihilus, and everybody shuffles.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun, actually.
All right, so we're happy with this. Not sure when Annihilus will fit in thematically. Hopefully soon, because Move definitely needs something. We've got several cards here, so we'll keep on moving. Black Knight, this is already outrageous, overpowered to me. He's a 1, so this guy we're looking at, we've already had scheduled release date, I think, for Spooktober. Maybe around that timing. But his Datamined is a 1/2. When this is destroyed, draw a card. This is already... We kind of already know that he's not going to release this way because we have Ebony Blade, which is his sword, as like a generated token that on reveal, if your Black Knight is here, destroy the highest power enemy cards here. So there's going to be some kind of Dakin Thor weapon creating synergy instead.
Yeah.
But if we just look at like a card existing at this stat line with this ability, what do you think? I think it's too much.
It's a bit too much, most likely. It's just too consistent to draw a card. It's asymmetrical, which always makes card draw very good. It's reason Crystal draws a card for both players and things like that. And then this being at a 1/2. Also, boring, I would say, for two reasons. It's just blanket good, why not run kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just like any character that you put in this role. I'm never a fan of these kind of cards because I want my cards to be there. I want my cards to be played, and I want you to, appreciate the variance I have for them and things like that. And he's destined to die. Nova
on turn 2 or 3 every time. Yeah.
Nova at least has potential to the long game, right, of doing that. and even that makes me a little sad. I wish they gave Nova a bigger animation to compensate for like the fact that he's going to be gone, right? But yeah, Black Knight's such a cool character. You're telling me, and again, it's not going to be this card, but in his original version, he's just going to die every time. And some of the variants too, by the way, for this card are insane.
Ooh, yeah, they're gearing up to the full release. This card's release is not in the too distant future, so I'm really looking forward to what. And with reading the Ebony Blade, it sounds pretty exciting.
Yeah, so I just not a fan of that type of effect for those two reasons. But I mean, it's probably going to happen at some point. It was an effect of that vein probably will go into the game.
Will it? The developers have been, they were like, energy cheats, yes, every energy cheat possible, we're going to make it at some point. But in terms of card draw, they're very stingy, and deck
very
thinning.
Small deck size.
They've been very stingy with those kind of effects. So I don't know, they might just leave that kind of out there. You know, you got to go down to the Adam Warlock, which shivers when it's only you drawing a card, right?
Yeah, make Adam Warlock a 1-drop, please. Buff him.
Nope.
1-0.
Do not do this. This is a terrible idea. Do not listen to Brad. My co-host is not reflecting the full opinions of the Can't Stop Snapping podcast. Moving on. We got Blink. 3-1. This is our potential move savior. You can move this each turn. When it moves, +1 power, starting at a 3-1. Once again, is this what move has been missing? One, I think that she could be played like this. It's a little slow, but I think that she could be playable just like this.
Yeah, I'd like to see her a bit lower in cost, but then you have her directly competing with things like Dagger, and then you don't want Dagger to get cut from your deck. You don't want to make her a 1-drop because A, she'll probably be too good as a 1-drop, and B, then you're making your move deck very much the Killmonger fucks up my game plan every single time deck with like Human Torch and Ghost Spider and then this card. So I'm okay with it being a 3 cost. Maybe it should be a bit bigger on the base power because if you move this 3 times, it finishes as a 3-4. That doesn't
so it's whenever it moves, not just the beginning of the turn move. So
True.
If you move it and then another effect yoinks it, it's still going to be able to scale. So you Iron Fist it at the beginning, that scales it, and then you have the freedom of movement. You Ghost Spider it, you end up Doctor Stranging it, you cloak it, stuff like this. You're looking at being able to buff Craven twice in a normal curved out game, playing it off on the side, and then on 4 going to Craven, 5 going away, 6 going back. Maybe the base power does need to be a little bit higher.
Yeah, or maybe it should be... This is dangerous, don't get me wrong, but maybe +2 each time it moves. Because, yes, naming off all the cards that can move her, there are quite a few enablers in the deck, but that's the ceiling. The floor, I'm thinking... You're probably playing Iron Fist on 1 or 2 anyway to get like an immediate value off Human Torch or Multiple Man, right? And then playing this, then like Ghost Spider, or like maybe like you can't even Ghost Spider, then you can go Ghost Spider, then maybe you can go Doctor Strange, maybe she's big enough, but then it's probably not going to be pulling her, and then you got to go like Heimdall and stuff. Like it's just... There's a lot of magical Christmas land in Annihilus, too. That's really got to make this get big to where, at that point, maybe you just run Bishop instead for that type of an effect. Just get blanket 1 for every card you play as opposed to every time it moves. That seems a bit more achievable in my mind than where this is at now.
Yeah, she's kind of, for the 3 cost, she's competing directly with Vulture, right? And Vulture has that pop-off. You move him once to 3-8. That's good. You can play him at any point. As long as he gets that move too. Once, you're pretty happy. So you need Blink to be able... You want her to be more valuable if played early, right? And then her ability to choose where she's going and always get you a move to like keep the wheels turning, because sometimes move just like hits a point where they're like, well, I have all cards that want to move and nothing that will move them. So my combos aren't hitting. I'm just setting up cards. And Blink will always give you that little bit of progress.
I have an idea.
All right.
Make her once per turn +3.
Ooh. All right. I'm also just loving the animation idea for this character. Dimension Door. Pops,
that
blinks
that
across
really...
like it writes itself, right?
I'm imagining the Nightcrawler Bamf type of effect. Which, by the way, I love that Bamf is the way that they've always animated Nightcrawler in the comics to like it's like Thwip, right, for Spider-Man. Some of these sound effects are like just fantastic, but Bamf makes me laugh because every time I read him, I'm like, badass motherfucker. Every time, it's fantastic because Nightcrawler he's awesome.
Oh yeah, 100%. So we've also got move in the name of the next card, Blob. Ongoing, nothing can move this to another location. He's a 3/4. Like, this is a joke. It has to change.
Yeah, my favorite thing about this card is that I can't wait to fucking sort by move and then see this asshole and then Cyclops next to each other.
Yes, move it. Let's move X-Men. No, let's not move. Nothing's going to move me. He's got to be, if this is the ongoing ability, he's got to be a 3/6. He has to be tempo because the ability
be huge. Yeah.
The ability is not help. Yeah, he has to be like something the opponent would want to move.
He's also Blob.
Yeah.
Like, that's a cool character. Like, dude, I know he's not Captain America. I know he's not fucking Iron Man. I get it. He's a literally fat dude character, okay? I understand. But he's a cool character. There's so many Marvel characters that are so interesting and cool. And this is not the... Like, I don't want Cyclops... Or not Cyclops, I'm sorry.
Colossus.
Colossus 2.0. This is just Colossus 2.0. And if Colossus as a 2/3 is bad, Blob as a 3/4 is even worse. Change this fucking
Here's the thing, is that the Colossus, the better parts of his ability are not having his power decreased and not being destroyed. Like, those all people care about. Being moved, people don't give a care. But Blob has to have a better base stat if this is going to stick around, or the ability just has to be new. And I feel like there's fertile ground for the character to be changed. I have no idea what direction they want to take it. Just not this, please. Bullseye. 1/2, we get into thinning the deck and tutoring cards, which you said you hate. I'm curious on your take on this one. On reveal, the next card you draw will be a 2-cost card, if any are left. Do you like this kind of tech for card draw?
I actually really like it. I think this is a very cool effect.
I think it is too.
Bullseye, it's flavorful because in some instance, but not as flavorful as I'd like to be for him. But I'm happy to accept it. But thinking about cards like Zabu, like Psylocke, like ways to like really cheat out stuff, or like Daredevil. And I don't think there's that many 2-drops that are so crazy impactful, because again, it's the next card you draw will be that, not he draws it. So it's not supremely just like broken tutor it. It's set your draw up next turn. It's a live by the sword, die by the sword situation, right? Because if you go all in on this kind of effect and say, I'm going to play 1 2-drop, being like Zabu, and then this guy to make sure I draw it. Well, but if you don't have him on 100%
the kitty finder. Like, Hawk Zabu just runs Bullseye and loves it, man.
Yes, but then I'm wondering, like, when you don't have it, like, it's also, I'm trying to think, how necessary is he? Because you're finding a 2-drop that, if you're building your deck the correct way, you could still win games without drawing it. And then in the case...
but you do way better with Zabu, right?
No, of course. I agree. I don't know. It's a good card. It's just I'm wondering if it's easy to be like, on paper it's broken, but in practice it's not as impactful as we might think.
Maybe not. I just feel like, like Zabu, is Zabu the only 2-cost that really matters to be played on turn 2? Does Destruction care to be able to find, like, Carnage or Wolverine?
Maybe the Phoenix Force version that wants to find either Carnage or multiple man might like this
Phoenix
kind
Force
of
might play this as well.
I will say Zabu's necessary for being played on turn 2 has gone down a bit because of Magic's prevalence. Because I've had the games where I played Zabu on turn 4, and I'm like, I have 3 more turns to play all these big guys, so I'm okay with that, right? So Zabu still is probably the one that's best played on turn 2, right?
Yeah.
To really go into, like, especially like Wong and things like that, or like negative. But I'm not sure what else you would really want to go find with this card besides like a Zabu and things like that. It could just be a perfectly fine tempo type of card. Go get a Mirage, maybe.
Yeah, if you want to be able to curve, dinos at a collector on curve every time or close to
But
it.
think about this. This is a tailor-made build your own domino effect.
Yes, it's the build your own domino.
So,
and I like it. I think it could be. I think it could come in, and it's very hard to compete in the one cost price point. But I think this could actually have an effect that some creative deck builders are gonna love having in the toolbox. So I'm actually quite looking forward to Bullseye. I hope that he does not change. 1/2 on reveal. The next card you draw will be a 2-cost card, if any are left.
yeah.
Now I've got Elsa Bloodstone slated to release in 3 season alongside Black Knight. Her stat line now is a 1/1. At the end of each turn, if you are winning this location, +1 power. It's so bad, Brad. It's just Nebula, but worse.
It's just the worst Nebula. This needs to be changed.
Yeah.
Probably +2 power, right? At the very least, like Nebula. Now,
I think then you could still say she's the worst Nebula because it's a win more. You're only building steam then versus Nebula triggering to kind of like catch up when they don't play there. When you leave Nebula alone, she still creeps back up. Is pretty good. I don't know.
What if you know what I would like better? I think what if you worked backwards, where she starts out as like a very solidly sized 1 something, like a 1/4, or maybe give her like an ongoing of an effect, where at the end of each turn, if you're losing the location, she loses a power. It might be hard to template correctly. Also, then you run into 0 shenanigans of like now we have another Epion Titania. That's a
what
worry.
I would have said is like the Sauron 0.
How about this? If you're winning a location, she gets +5 ongoing. If you're losing a location, she's a 1/1.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. If it's just flat, that way you don't feel like you have to scale her. You can just play her whenever, and as long as you've got the lead. I think that's something it's interesting. It's really hamstrung Crossbones, but it's something that to play around with in the design space. And Lizard kind of goes there, but Lizard is like debuff just based on the quantity of cards, not the power of cards. This is going to be the power of cards. Kind of like it. Though then you get into the how do you calculate... It gets you into a complicated space, right? Of like, if she had her better power, I would be winning. But on the lower power, we're losing. So at what point does she flip up or down?
Yeah. And it's like, how do I determine what I commit to this location? Because now there's the easy way of overcommitting now to ensure she stays on, where now you're losing other locations. It's a detriment to what she would have lost anyway. I'm going to tell you, I just don't like this effect. I don't like the card as it stands. I think it should be reworked. I just don't like this type of... I think I'm kind of okay with Sunspot Nebula being the scale-up 1-drops and then never seeing more of them again. I think I'm kind of good with that. Because once we dilute the pool of these type of effects, you can make decks like Lockdown a bit too consistent, especially with Misty Knight already effectively doing that as well. So now you have 4 cards if you're on the Haivu version. Just make a different version of this card. I don't like this effect.
Yeah, and I think that with Nebula being in the game, like, she basically has to be changed from what she is now.
Yeah.
We'll see how dramatically different they want to go if they keep any of the flavor here. Once again, she will be releasing alongside Black Knight in about 3 seasons. Next up, we've got Flatman. 2/2 ongoing. Adjacent locations have +1 power. He's the wimpy version of Mr. Fantastic.
He's getting changed. Also, this is so far out, they have no art for him yet.
Yeah. It's weird. I don't like it. I don't think it's that good. People don't play that much Mr. Fantastic right now. It's a tempo play. It's a 2/4. And it has ongoing synergy, so you do have that going for it. But it's just not interesting to be a weaker Mr. Fantastic.
But I think here's the thing. They're probably going to make him a weaker Fantastic because if they make, which a card we'll get to in a little bit, Miss Marvel, Kamala, being a juiced up Mr. Fantastic, they're basically going to be saying stretchy people do this, and that's essentially what it boils down to.
It's the stretchy people guardian synergy. Everybody does this. They stretch to the other locations. Guys, you're stretching. Do you feel thematic yet?
So,
do you remember when Mirage would pretend to be Mr. Fantastic?
I do.
That was her original ability.
I do remember that, yeah. Thought that was really funny, and I was like, that's it's. I think people are going to immediately know it's Mirage because Mr. Fantastic has like a sub 3% play rate.
Yes, 100%. So Flatman, the stat line and the ability is just boring. We hope it's changed, but it wouldn't have to be changed to come into the game. It would probably have to be changed to see play, though.
Oh yeah, I agree.
All right, next up, Goblin Queen. This one also very much template feel. 2/3 on reveal. Other cards cannot be revealed this turn. Fascinating effect. Because you could time it out. You're timing it only when you're ahead in initiative. So that's a criteria, that's your combo, what you have to be able to combo with. But you can prevent your opponent from doing something, which in Conquest can break decks. You play this when they're trying to set up Mr. Negative, which Mr. Negative usually behind in tempo as well. Oh, Mr. Negative on 5 now? Good luck. Good luck to you, good sir. So much stuff there.
Especially like on 2, if you have priority, making sure that their Zabu or their Psylocke, their ramp doesn't flip until turn 3. Like Lemuria. How many times does that happen that pops up as the turn 2 location? You're like, fuck!
You hate it. And so this is a way that you can do it on command.
Yeah,
I just wonder, it's very meta-dependent. I love it as a card concept. I just don't think it's going to see a lot of play, except in very specific metas.
Yeah, no. It's a very niche effect that I think on paper is way worse than we're really giving it credit for. I think it's going to be one of those cards that has a pretty low play rate, but a fairly good win rate is what I'm going to see on in practice. That's my bet.
Hot takes. I like it, though. I like it. Yeah. Hopefully we get to see her in a similar form. Being cheap, being affordable as a tech card, I think is very important. You need these niche tech cards to be very cheap to get play.
Okay,
moving on to...
No, hold on. Because you passed over a card. I know it doesn't have an effect yet. If we're going alphabetical order, let's give it an effect. It's Gladiator.
For Gladiator?
What does he do? What do you think he does?
I'm going to rip right out of the plug for collab content with Drewberry, who previously appeared here on the Can't Stop Snapping podcast. Yeah. I did a DC-themed Marvel Snap card review, and there was an effect for Wonder Woman that was this card fights a random card. Truly random. Could fight his friends, could fight his enemies. It was a 4/8 stat line. After me and Drew went back and forth on that card for a while, I would love that to be an effect. I don't know if that's the stat line, but I love the idea of just fight a random card.
Holy shit. By the way, real quick, I just want to read you off some of his powers. I just want to refresh myself with Gladiator to be able to build a nice thing, right? Okay. Possesses a number of superhuman capabilities as a result of his unique alien physiology, including superhuman strength, capable of shattering a planet, ripping apart a black hole, and holding off the destroyer armor.
Sure.
Amazing.
Oh man.
So I don't know. He's gonna do something very cool. His super breath, frost breath. He's kind of reminds me of like a Superman kind of effect, right?
Yeah, kind of like a Sentinel.
Sentry
is like the Marvel soup.
Yeah. Also, did you enjoy my my layup of a thing I gave you for that creator card? So that I made sure you knew it was me.
I knew it was you.
Also, I love Lucifer as a character, so I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do that anyway. What did you think of? I watched the video, but like beyond just like the back and forth with Drew, what did you think of like the card? I tried to make it as balanced as possible because I know that information and that kind of effect is so powerful. For those of you who didn't see, my card was Lucifer, a 1/1 that said on reveal, your opponent reveals their hand, discards a card, and then the remaining cards get +1 like a Nakia effect.
I think that the hand attack makes it strong enough to see play and maybe being too strong, even like just keying off of the opponent having to discard something, especially with the expansion of Silver Samurai getting added to that suite of capabilities, means that as a 1 cost to be able to knock something out of their hand, it seems like a lot. You can easily combo that alongside the Black Widow, preventing them from being able to draw at the exact same time, to hamstring them, the Moon Knight, and now Silver Samurai going to Black Bolt, the opponent just not having any options in the end. And then because discards are all, well, it makes their entire hand public, which is feeding into you even more. The handicap of it being a -1 and then buffing their hand is interesting, but that's where if you actually hold it to play more towards the end game, I feel like kind of mitigates their ability to get those buff cards to the board, and then there's some other stuff there. It's really interesting to see like how many handicaps can you put on a really cool effect. So, which is the knowledge and the discard.
My thinking with the flavor was Lucifer is one of his iconic things that they really hammered in as one of his abilities in the TV show, more so than it is in the comics, but still a prevalent ability in the comics nonetheless, is his ability to understand and see people's desires. And I was imagining like, you know how like when you play Living Tribunal has that transparent head pop up, something along that kind of like whimsical kind of look, where you would hear the voice of him saying, "What do you desire?" And then the hand reveals through this like whimsical like smoke like eyes, like his eyes. I think that'd be an amazing animation. By the way, that was my thinking with that. So please give this to me. But yeah, we'll go on to the next card. Gladiator, probably going to do something that involves blowing some shit up, or like just being probably a stat, like a beat stick, right? I would imagine, based on the character for flavor, just a big guy.
Yeah, you can wreck.
So, whatever.
Oh, yeah. All right. We got Gorr the God Butcher. This one's fascinating. We have an ability, but we don't have a stat line. So, Brad, pick your stat line. On reveal, destroy all 6-cost cards wherever they are. This includes in deck. This will feed into null. This is like Lamentis. So you could just like destroy the enemy's finisher cards. It's like Ham, but you destroy them everywhere, not just in hand. What do you have to pay to get this awesome power?
So it's weird. So it can't be a 6-cost.
It actually... It would kill null itself, right? So null wouldn't work.
Yeah. It could be a 6-cost because at least it kills them on board too, right? It says wherever they are.
Yes.
But you want it to be something probably a 5-cost, right?
To lead into.
Yeah, and I think it's got to be a 5/0. I don't think it can.
I guess really
power.
the synergy is with death, right? You're getting extra destructions. You make death cheaper, but it would actually kill your own null. So.
Yeah, I think you're really
5/0. Wow.
I don't think you can give it
because it's
power,
playable on turn 6 just to like eradicate whatever they played.
Especially
wherever it is even an unrevealed card. They set their card down and you just stab it.
Yeah, I think that's a tough one to figure out for balance.
It's a very steep price. But we might have to pay it.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with a 5/0. That's my pick.
All right. I feel like it is so dramatic. It could be there. So many decks rely on these 6-cost cards, or even multiple 6-cost cards with Lockjaw and stuff like that, that it could be absolutely devastating.
Yeah.
Rolling into Gwenpool. I love this one. 2/1 on reveal. Double this card's power.
It's going to be changed.
She's asking you. You think this one gets changed?
Yeah, I think there's no shot this stays as is.
Because it's too bad or too good?
Too boring.
Too boring?
Yeah.
To see how much you can get buffs on a card. I don't know, like, there's enough niche ways. Like, buffing cards, especially in hand, is pretty niche. And then buffing them on board and getting a reactivation requires you to do some combo hoops, but still very rewarding when it works.
Yeah, and I mean the deck building idea with her and like playing like Beast to bounce her back and stuff like that is intriguing as well. And then you can go into like Shuri and stuff. But I also think that Juice might be a bit, not worth the squeeze kind of thing, right? Where here's the thing. So Deadpool, which is clearly where this is, having inspiration from, of course, being Gwenpool.
Yep.
By the way, not Gwen Stacy. Why people think this, I don't understand. This is not Gwen Stacy. This is a different Gwen, a different world, different universe. Her name is literally Gwendolyn Poole. It's not fucking Gwen Stacy. Anyway, it's it's just a boring card. I think it's also just like Deadpool can work because he synergizes everything. Killmonger hits him. You have all these destroy cards and stuff like that. Where I feel you got to play like Nova. Which actually Nova doesn't do anything for this. You got to play like Forge, Nakia, maybe like Shuri. You're putting so much to really make this one card get big enough to contest the lane on her own, where it's like, now what? How do you win the other lanes? Like Taskmaster, I guess.
Another game plan. That's often been the payoff. If you're able to hyperscale a single card, then your Taskmaster brings it over, or your Zola brings it over.
But then at that point, you should just be playing normal Shuri decks.
Exactly. Like, you've got the Black Panther that's already the big brother to this, right?
Yeah.
So it has to be... This is, I think, a conversation that I kind of wanted to have in general. We have a lot of cards here that are the same ability of cards that already exist, which this is Black Panther, but at a different stat line. Do you think that we could ever have cards that are just the exact same ability, verbatim, but at different stat lines, living at the same time in Snap?
I mean, eventually they're going to have to. The way the game's going to work. I think once you get to a certain amount of cards, it's going to be hard to have unique abilities every single time, right? But I would like to not reach that point anytime soon. We're approaching in a few months the year anniversary of release in October. But we're still in July. We still have a ways to go until that. We have 3 more months. So then the game's been out for 9 months now. Let's pass the 1 year mark before we start getting to that territory at the very least.
Gotcha. Yeah, I can definitely see that. I think that it depends on the ability. And some of them are more interesting to be able to have duplicates of than others. This one's one of the ones I'm actually interested in. I would enjoy having this kind of like alternate take on the Black Panther, but again, it is just like at some point you're just running the exact same shell with Gwenpool instead of Black Panther, and then you're like, well, I could just play Black Panther, and then why should Gwenpool exist? So we'll see what they end up tailoring this card to be. This one's also like clearly a long ways out.
Well, that's why I don't like that type of thing where I want to avoid overlapping effects too much, because it makes for either super weak cards that see no play and you're like, why would I play this when I already have Black Panther as one example, versus like War Machine we'll get to in a little bit, of like, this is just a strictly better, now power creep is a thing. Like, so it's a very fine, delicate balance that's really hard to actually nail perfectly. And I would say near impossible. So you're better off just trying to make it as unique of an effect for each character as you possibly can.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Everybody's favorite. J. Jonah Jameson, 1/1 ongoing. Your emotes are ruder. This is perfect. Why stray from perfection? Why not just release it now?
Yeah, please do.
How many tokens? Series 5, Big Bad?
Yeah.
I think so. I think that's fair. I think the community wouldn't even bat an eye.
He is, if you think about it, one of the most iconic big bads in all of Marvel. So even though he's genuinely actually a good person once you get into his specific runs later in Spider-Man's career, but no one wants to hear that shit. J. Jonah, he looks like Hitler. There we go. He's bad. Like that's the thing. Like,
oh man, 100. So they are rumoring new custom emote sets.
Well, it's Jameson not a rumor. They revealed it for San Diego Comic-Con. They look amazing.
So they're coming in some form or fashion. So I think with that, Jameson's never going to exist. That he's just a joke, but.
He was supposed to be the April Fool's card this year, I'm pretty sure. That was the Datamined originally, and then he just never. They probably just didn't see reason to release him, or they found.
I think the April Fool's was the Datamined, right? Like the same thing with their song lyrics previously of they rickrolled the Dataminers. Yeah, I think that's what it was. All right, going on. King Eitri 5/3 on reveal. Give the next card you play +4 power. This was a kind of suggested nerf to old Shuri. I think this card is abysmally bad. Like the stats are just too weak, and I think that the effect gets into old Shuri terrible times of you being able to put the buffed card behind Cosmo and then be immune to anything problematic happening to you. Though at the 5 cost price point, you're not able to as easily make the duplicative use of the power through either the Taskmaster or the Zola.
Yeah. I'm seeing the only interaction I can think of in my head of being this card being like a way to control land on yourself or on its own right would be you try to win a single lane earlier, and then on the last turn you play this, and then on top of this, because you want to get as much power as you can, you play Lady Deathstrike and hope you hit a bunch of cards.
Deathstrike with the +4. Okay.
That should be a 5/7, so you're nuking everything in that lane. Which I think actually would kill this card too. So maybe you don't want to play.
Yes, it would.
So okay, let's not.
But
do
then
that.
couldn't you just play Alioth and then Wong the Alioth? Or
I've
Odin
seen.
the
Okay,
Alioth?
so Glazer, friend of the
looks
show,
insane.
Yeah, Glazer, friend of the show from Snap Judgments. He thinks Alioth is not going to be released like that. He thinks there's no shot. He thinks it's way too strong, and I'm a little inclined to believe Alioth. For those of you. Well. We skipped over it because we were not going to want to talk about too much with the Destroy stuff next season and then the Loki stuff. But Alioth is a 5/5 as of right now that says on reveal, destroy all cards that were played pretty much this turn here, whether they're revealed or not. So
yes, you get around the initiative dodging problem that Control has always had, which is insane. And then you have the on-reveal synergy of being able to reactivate it with Odin, reactivate it with Absorbing Man, reactivate it in multiple lanes with Zola. Help, Brad, I'm dying over here.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And on 5, it curves straight into null with X23. It curves whenever in the game you want to play it. It curves with other cards alongside it. It's pretty cracked.
Yeah, that card's insane. It's probably going to be... I think we're too close to Loki release for that card to be changed completely for its ability, but its stats are going to get changed, right?
I mean, 5/5 is pretty good.
Pretty fine, yeah. It's like it gives me like Gorr God Butcher kind of vibes where it's like it should be a 5/1 or something. Like Lady Deathstrike is the one that should be a 5/5. This one should be a 5/3 or 5/2. I guess you should switch those around. But whatever. I'm not a game designer. I don't envy them at all. A very difficult job.
Because I mean, we got to make content off of picking over all their mistakes. So
exactly, that's what I'm good at.
Let's roll into what could potentially be another mistake of theirs, creating another free card. A 0/2 Makkari. When you draw this, place it at a random location. I think that the design space of effects that happen when drawn is something that is heavily underutilized in Snap. I would like to see an entire archetype around this. I just don't know if I care about this effect.
This card's weird. It's a 0/2. We don't know if that's actually, designed to be a 0/2 or if it's just like a placeholder thing, how they usually do like 0/0. Why does Yellow Jacket exist if this is a 0/2? Because yes, it goes to a random
control where
location.
Yellow Jacket goes.
I guess, but I think Yellow Jacket needs to be a changed a little bit in his own right, if I'm being honest. But I don't know. This is just a weird card. I don't think this is going to exist as it currently releases. It's just not because it's too good, but just because it's too uninteresting. The effect is cool, and I agree with you that the effect can be something to really go off of as far as an archetype is concerned in future releases. But as it stands right now, this right off the bat is just very strange to me, and I'm having a hard time placing what you do with it.
What if you add the text and then draw a replacement card? It's like
too good.
That's too good because it's thinning the deck. What if he's a 0/1? He's just
Still
like taking up a random space on your board with a 1
0/1
power.
that draws a card. Are you kidding me? That goes in every deck. Every deck.
I don't think so. I think the price of what you lose on board is something.
Teddy, give Wasp draw a card on reveal.
Yeah, but you get to control where you play Wasp. This is like if Wasp was dropping herself to a location and is then filling it up entirely. You didn't get to always play Wasp to lockjaw.
As it currently stands, Sakaar pulling Wasp makes me very sad. If Wasp drew a card, Sakaar pulling Wasp makes me go, yay! I don't care anymore. So I think that's too good. I think it's way too good.
Maybe so.
Just the card draw is scary in this game.
0/0? Plays random, draws card.
Now you're talking about playing. What was the card called? It's in Yu-Gi-Oh. It was in every deck because it got hit to 1 for the longest time. It's one of the pot cards, but it draws a single card, and then you gain your opponent gains 1,000 life points, I think. Fuck. What's the card?
Okay, I think I remember what it was.
Driving me insane now, but it just becomes that, right?
Gotcha.
Where it's just like, it's just a boring card at that point.
Okay. Well, we'll see how Makkari ends up arriving. And again, I hope that we get more of effects that happen when you draw them. Not necessarily getting played randomly, but just like a whole option of doing this and then the opportunity to be able to play cards back into Lockjaw to get redraws and kind of a synergy, building a synergy there. Give Umbaku a team. Please.
Yeah.
All right. Skipping Man thing.
Upstart Goblin.
Martyr
was the name of the card.
What was it?
Upstart Goblin.
Perfect. Love those Yu-Gi-Oh card names. Martyr, another one of those that's just placeholders. 0/0, no ability. We don't know anything about this card. Do you have something you want to say about Martyr, or should we move on to Mephisto?
I can't even see it.
All right.
Where I am. So, yeah, just move on to Mephisto. I'm not too familiar with that card, so I can't even give at least I had some idea.
Yeah, I don't know the character either.
So, if you know in the comments, let us know on your prediction for what Martyr's going to be.
There we go. Should we be reading Martyr comics? Yes and no. Mephisto, this guy, character-wise, is kind of the next big bad. Would have to be. This ability, never going to exist. 6/0. If you win this game, double your winnings, which is understood to be cube gain when you are on ranked. Yeah. Would be anticipated in Conquest. It would also be health damage to the opponent. You could... one game KO your opponent with a win with Mephisto. Mephisto negative obviously is 0/6 to be able to double down. I don't see it happening. Like they put the Fog's Gym in the game that gave you double boosters, and then they were like, we're not even going to continue this location. So I feel like anything that's interacting with the meta progression game outside of the snap game is not gonna fly.
Yeah, also, I don't understand why they're so hell-bent on seemingly making this the flavor of Mephisto, where it's like the deal with the devil kind of thing. Like, that's one aspect of Mephisto. And also, anything that reminds me of One Last Day, I don't want to think about, so let's not have that be his effect. For those of you who don't know,
the magic card that would
allow
you to steal a card from the opponent's deck? Like forever? Wasn't there a magic card that did that if you played it, you got to just take you would own one of their cards? Like it set that as a rule of the match or something? I could be completely off base.
There are plenty of magic cards that steal opponents' cards.
But I mean like permanently add it to your collection. Like
Ante. You're talking about Ante.
Wasn't there a card that played with the Ante?
No, it's not a single card. That was a mechanic called Ante on old magic cards that basically was like, you're betting. It's like the pink slip thing in like Fast and Furious with cars.
Okay. Gotcha.
Which they don't do anymore because that's literal gambling at that point. They cannot legally do that. But yeah, Mephisto, I would like to see a different avenue of going about that. Again, don't want to be reminded about One Last Day, the worst Spider-Man comic run in existence, where he's like, we have to save Aunt May so that she can live to see our marriage that no longer exists. God, that's fucking stupid. So stupid. This card it's just a weird one. Like, I think it's cute. I think the flavor is really cute. Don't get me wrong. But
it can't be a real thing in the game.
It can't exist. No.
Yeah. So we'll see where Mephisto ends up going. His character gives you such fertile room for creating a new dramatic
He's literally
effect.
Satan. Come on.
Yeah, like you gotta put this guy up there with Thanos and Kang and Galactus, all of those.
Now you could go with the make a deal with the devil kind of effect, but in a much different way that actually affects the board state. Right?
Yeah, what if it was like you have some kind of condition that he has to reach, and you're pairing him with one of your already played cards, and if you reach it, you obviously get a benefit. If you don't, that card is like destroyed or sacrificed or something. And then your opponent, of course, understands what Mephisto is doing and is trying to stop you, either winning a certain location or being ahead at a location by a certain turn, or I really don't know what else.
Yeah, it's exactly tough to say. Like maybe like you play him in like you play him on a lane. You have to meet the condition, and it's like if you meet the condition, it blows up like all the cards your opponent controls here. Like you don't, it destroys all cards you own. So like
something there's a positive and a negative. That's the deal.
But
with the
I think you have
part.
to make the positive and the negative the same effect, but on one half, the scale needs to be far more impactful as the negative than the positive. Does that make sense? Because I think if you say blanket destroy all cards your opponent controls, too much. But if you destroy a single lane, fine. But make the negative not just destroy a single lane, because then you just don't play anything there. And Mephisto's the one that dies. He has to destroy all of your cards.
Yeah, we'll see. There's something like, I think that he should be dramatic as well. Like he should be warps the game kind of card. We'll see what kind of effect they ultimately bring to him, because he's going to come to snap at some point.
And every time you play him, his voice line is not a voice line at all. It's just the devil went down to Georgia. Whole song. That's it.
The whole song. All the Twitch streamers are like DMCA. They're like, no. Miss Marvel 3/4 ongoing. If this is your only card here, adjacent locations have +5 power. Brad, potentially the highest ceiling on any 3 cost. Thor goes pretty hard. For a 3 cost. I don't know, 3 costs have a pretty high power threshold. But anyway, she could be, if she's the only card, a 3/14. Good gosh. So basically, you are sacrificing her lane. Easy for the opponent to be able to pass you there, to be able to get overwhelming force at the adjacent location. So to be able to hit both, you would have to play her mid. And then you can try and balance things out by hitting Claw, Mr. Fantastic, other stretchy people like Flatman to get the buff to her lane.
Yeah.
Give her Hulkbuster, step up, stuff like that.
I mean, also you could just say, I don't really care about that middle lane. You can say because like, again, the whole point of the game of Marvel Snap is trying to win 2 lanes. And sometimes you have to just say, I don't care about this particular lane. And if that happens to be the middle lane in this sense, and you're focusing on the edges, she's a perfect card to be able to do that, because you just say, I'm essentially saying I'm giving the old classic Doctor Doom effect on a middle lane for 3 power.
Yeah, I think she's playable. I think she's. I think she could come into
very good.
This state.
I'm trying to think of any decks that want to play her right off rip. You can't really go with. No, you can't really. Well, I'm trying to think. Yeah, because you can't do ongoing destroyer stuff, because then like you can't do the 2-lane thing because you want to be able to play in another like all 3 lanes. And now okay, maybe her instead of Warpath in that kind of deck.
No, because Warpath plays on the stack and she has to play alone.
Yeah, I know, but like you play her alone, and then like because you're kind of going off curve anyway. You play her alone, and then you start building your other 2 lanes away from her.
That is a good call out of that. The goblins can just attack against her, against the opponent at her lane, and you're still able to fight there. So if you're looking at something like Renslayer, who's decreasing the cost of cards with lower than 1 power, meaning your goblins, you could build a very fun synergy and still be able to impact this. You might be surprised at how many different ways you can still fight to win Miss Marvel's location. There's a lot of tools at your disposal.
Yeah.
So I think that she is good. I could see her coming in this exact state as like the Battle
agree.
Pass card.
I'm actually shocked she hasn't been released yet, with Kamala being the most recognizable emote, of course. I find it weird.
Waiting, like things didn't align when the show released, and then now they're waiting for the Marvels, but we've seen the Datamined so far out that it's not even going to hit for the Marvels. So what gives Second Dinner, like, give us this card, we would love to play it.
Unless they just randomly drop it and say, Like I honestly, I think they
Time
should
for
do
Snap
that
to give
sometimes.
us more than 4 a month.
Yeah, like maybe sometimes just be like, okay, double week, two cards dropping this week. On Monday you get this card. On Thursday you get this card.
It's Player Appreciation Day here at Second Dinner. Everybody gets a Ms. Marvel. You all have done the emote?
Okay, that'd be actually really cool, not going to lie.
What if it was like an in-game
1 year
event?
anniversary?
You had to use the emote a certain number of times to be able to get the card.
Yeah.
That would
1
be
year
it.
anniversary, though. Maybe that's like the gift everyone gets is Miss Marvel.
She looks like she could be that in that vein. She's got main character energy. She's a cool card. We'll see. We'll see. We've got a couple others here. We should probably kick it up into high gear. We'll go rapid fire.
Yeah.
Night Nurse, 2/2. On reveal, add all cards you discarded or destroyed last turn to your hand. I love this. I love this. I think it's not necessarily broken. Are you finding a way to break it immediately, Brad?
Not off the top of my head, but I think that it has someone smarter than me is going to, or someone who's going to have more time.
It lets discard or destruction really high roll off of some of the cheap cards especially. So looking at Dakin with the Muramasa shard, we might have to see where that settles before, she's able to duplicate that shard back into hand. And at the 2/2, she combos pretty easily. I like it though. I want this effect to exist, maybe not this stat line. Random, 4/0. On reveal, set this card's power equal to the power of a random card in your deck.
Bad.
4/0,
Bad
just
card.
rolling the rando as he's a baddie.
Bad card.
It is in your deck,
Bad
not your
card.
starting deck.
Bad card.
Okay, he's too bad. He needs to be cheaper.
He's awful.
This is like
it's
Morph.
a horrible effect. Like I understand you should. I think they're cool, right?
Yeah.
Like Morph in this card, absolutely fun to play. Really fun cards to play. I think it's okay to have bad cards in the game. Not everything should be meta, slewed or skewed or whatever, right? But as it stands right now, bad card. It's just Morph 2.0 for you.
Exactly. Yeah. You get a little more control over it, but we'll see what happens to a random. Red Guardian, 3/6. On reveal, you must play a card here next turn.
So
I think
too good. I think too good. I think too good in Surfer.
I would have said too weak.
No,
I feel like
no, 3/6. That's like a really not that big of a deal of a downside.
It is not that big of a deal, right? You can play him either on the final turn or you can play him. You're telegraphing where your play goes. The problem is like telegraphing where your play goes in a meta that's increasingly with location lockdown is like an evergreen. Can hamstring you. But I don't know. You think that the stat stick is too much?
Dude, the stat stick's insane. Can we stop
3/6
giving
is
Surfer
very nice.
massive fucking 3 drops, please?
The only other 3/6 is Swordmaster.
Yes. Correct.
Black Cat
Is a 3/7.
Yeah, okay. So he would join kind of the upper echelons of what Surfer wants.
He's an instant play in Surfer. No shot he's not.
Probably.
Dude, a turn 6 of him followed by Maximus and then Surfer? Come on. We already have Brood or like Jean Grey and stuff like that. That's crazy to me.
Yeah, the final turn drop especially gives you a lot of flexibility there.
Because Maximus, I'll put it this way, real quick. Last thing on this card: if Maximus is a staple in Surfer deck, so is this, for the exact same reason.
Fair enough. Silver Sable 2/6. You can only play this at a location where you have 6+ total power. So she's early curve, but has to be played after you've developed a lot of points. I don't like it because I want my 2 costs to be playable on curve normally, but it is very strong. 2/6 again,
Sarah
the hold
control.
and dump at the end. Exactly, it's the Sarah Miracle Dream card.
Yeah,
it's nuts.
Because you can
moon
easily
girl
get
this.
to that. Just do 2 Sentinels in a lane, and you can play this card now. And just surprise 1/6 at the end of the game, in combination with if you're going like maybe Hit Monkey route with like Mysterio and stuff like that too. Maybe Silk, who we see right next to her in terms of alphabetical order, just in terms of stats. This is a great card for Sarah Miracle.
If she comes down to 2/5, she kind of lives at the power level of the other best 2 costs. Maybe she sees play there, but even then, I think that
she still
like
sees
the
play
hold
as a
and dump at
2/5.
the end is very good. Yeah, I can see that being more feasible. But wow, I can't wait to see whatever form she ultimately takes. Stryfe 3/7. If your opponent has 12+ power here at the end of any turn, destroy this. Talk about needing to work with the goblins. It's Stryfe. I don't like it. The 3, I don't know, like the 3/7 again, you're looking at like the max, the drop with the Surfer, the power bump up, but the 12 power, and then like trying to lock your opponent out of lanes. Maybe it's possible in the Surfer deck that's running Spider-Man. You can guarantee Stryfe will survive.
Or playing this, it's another card that is nice behind a locked location, like a flooded lane.
Prof X
we're
with
seeing
this.
a lot of cards that are very interesting in the type of idea of Legion lock decks that don't have to go all in on the idea of, your what's it called, your sunspots and nebulas and things like that. There's a lot of these cards that are pretty interesting to just be like early play, big stats. And this is another one where I'm like, I think if you're looking at a combination of Stryfe, Maximus, and Red Guardian and Surfer, I think Stryfe is the worst of those 3. But there's a world where all 3 are played. I think it's hard to sit there and tell yourself you don't. Because again, another thing, by the way, we're forgetting something very simple. Armor exists. Zero
armor.
exists. This probably
Also,
gets played in 0.
Like Atuma gets played for purposeful self-sacrifices in some decks also.
True.
So Stryfe has a lot of potential here and has a stat line that's pretty
I think
desirable.
this is a really good card. I think this is just a very good blanket card that's almost good enough to just be like you can play it in any deck, really.
I don't know if I'd go to any deck, but it does seem quite fun to be able to play around
I said almost. It's not quite there because it has a little of that restriction, but it's almost there.
Yeah. All right. We got Surtur. If you move the Human Torch to this location, plus 10 power, starting as a 5/0.
Getting changed.
Yeah,
no shot. No fucking way.
They can't.
They've never interacted.
Can't do these.
When I first saw this card, I was like, I've never seen these 2 characters interact. I scoured for a good 45 minutes, tried to find panels of Silver Surf, or not Silver Surf, I'm sorry, Human Torch and Surtur interacting. They never have.
All right. Well, it must be some kind of placeholder, or they just wanted like
They're
a Fire
both fire.
Bros synergy.
That's it.
Yeah. The
Now,
card design
if I'm
team was
wrong,
like, do
please
this, and
someone
Marvel
correct
says
me.
no.
Please, by all means, in the comments, if I'm wrong, correct me. I am okay with being wrong. But when I looked, I could not find any evidence that they've ever interacted in Marvel.
Yeah. They also broke up the Jean Grey Phoenix Force pairing, which had been thematic between their abilities before. So I think they're going to break this one up again. No chance Surtur releases as is. Toad. This is just old Ghost Spider. This is not releasing the way it is. Uncle Ben. What are your thoughts on Uncle Ben? 1/2. When this is destroyed, add Spider-Man to your hand.
Why? Why are you playing Spider-Man in a destroy deck?
Spider-Man's kind of generally good. He was better at a 4 cost to be just a general plug and play than the 5, which is really maximizing your end game here. I think it's hard to work in.
It's just I don't think Uncle Ben should even be a card in my opinion.
Yeah.
I understand he's a very iconic character. He's the whole reason Spider-Man exists to at least a certain extent. At least his moral compass and things like that, of course. But just we don't need a card for everybody. Like even Night Nurse to an extent. I'm like, we don't really need a card for them.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they're like thinking about adding these cards that are not supers themselves, but other supporting characters, and the dark humor here is spot on. I love that the developers went for this, but I don't think that it's added.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah. Viv Vision, a fascinating card. 2/3. When you move a card to a location, move this there as well. She's going to tag along with whoever is bouncing around. I feel like this creates too much clutter.
It does.
And in practice will actually not be good.
Yeah. Basically, you're handcuffing her to another card. That fills up. Because if you, let's say, for example, you go Doctor Strange, card moves, she follows, already 3 in that lane.
Exactly.
That's hard to deal with.
Yeah. 100%. War Machine, this is just a repeat of old Kazar. He's got to change as well.
Yeah.
Witchfire, repeat of old Baron Mordo. Has to change. It was bad on Baron Mordo. It'll be bad again. And then Yo-Yo, very last alpha by name. 1/2. When this card moves, move it back with +1 power.
Now,
extra...
this one seems interesting to me. Now,
Yeah.
this is what I think that other card, the Viv Vision, should have been doing, going back and forth.
Yep.
I like it. I think the shenanigans with this card are a lot more interesting because we compared this to Blink earlier, right?
Yeah.
Blink being a 3/1, I find its ceiling to be not very good and its floor to be kind of abysmal in a lot of cases. That's why I even made
it
the
has
joke
to find Craven hits to be anywhere near playable.
Where Yo-Yo being a 1-drop and being able to kind of, its ceiling seems a lot more interesting to me now. And then just being a solid, 1-3 or 1-4 on its floor for the most part, for getting moved like once or twice, which is what's going to happen more often than not, I think is perfectly fine. And
it's
also
actually quite nice that it's sticky as well. Everything wants to bump cards to the left, and Yo-Yo's always going to come back and hold that final lane with her scaling power. If you're dropping the Craven on that lane where she's moving back to, you can keep on pulling her back, and then she'll always bump up the Craven.
Yeah, I like this card. I think it's a very interesting way to build it. Again, little worried about the direction of move going too heavy in the the 1-drops. But
yes.
Ghost
we'll Spider, see. Iron Fist, Human Torch, potentially Yo-Yo.
Yeah. So it is what it is.
There we go. You guys are going to have to let us know in the comments what your favorite potential card additions are. Do you agree that, or have we missed something in our analysis that some of these cards we thought would be fun are actually going to be insanely busted, or some of these cards that we have panned out could actually have a fun home? Can't wait to hear your thoughts down below. You can catch the entire audio of the episode on any of your podcast devices. Otherwise, you're going to have to hop over to Brad's first channel to be able to see our Meta Minute and breakdown over there. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Brad, where can they find you elsewise?
Oh, you already know you can find me on Twitter and stuff like that, but who cares? You're already here. You're enjoying the show. You can find me on these shows like you've already watching. You see me on Snap on Ego. As long as you're listening to me ramble about Marvel Snap stuff, I am not too interested. I'll grow my stuff organically. It's fine.
Till next time, thank you guys for watching. Keep on snapping.